Well, good morning, everybody. Greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you each and every one of you for taking a little time out of your day to join us here on Lions Talk Live. As you probably all know, we've got 2 days until perhaps the biggest road game of Detroit's season, at least before the bye week. And we're going to head on down to Tampa Bay. And if you've seen the thumbnail, spent a little time on that one just for you guys. I got a couple of topics I really want to chat with you guys all about, especially since we're on the road. I'm going to bring this up to you guys. Before we get into all that, though, boy, I got to remember this stuff. Hey, in case you are looking to buy or sell property in the future, whether it be now, 6 months from now, a year from now, whatever. I've been a realtor for over 30 years. Anything from commercial properties, home, residential properties, rental properties, flips, whatever it may be. If you're looking for someone who's going to work on your behalf, try to save you some money on either the purchase or the sale of a property, don't be afraid to give me a call, 269-998-2384. Now, with that being said, don't be afraid also to hit that subscribe button and like button. I'm trying to make a push to get to 3,600 by kickoff on Sunday. All right, see, we got some people in the comments section. Dale, good morning, and happy Friday to you too. Archon, good morning to you. Happy Friday. And John, somehow we are even more banged up than last week. You know, you're not wrong about that, but as we probably all know, part of the NFL is people are going to get injured. And we will talk about that today, John. Gary, good morning to you too. So everybody joining us, I got to thinking last night. I don't remember. I was driving to Grand Rapids with the GF to see her daughter and listen to some national media. Raise your hand if you guys are like me and that it seems like we're always hearing the same narratives from them. Lions struggle on the road, Goff struggles on the road. So I got thinking, I was like, man, it seems like a while since we've lost a road game. And in fact, I did a little bit of research, and you guys let me know your thoughts on this. Did you know Detroit has won? Let me see if I got the banner here. There you go. Detroit Lions won 6 of their last 7 road games. So why does the national media say we struggle so much? I get a lot of them also say Goff struggles. So I did a little research. And, I guess you're splitting hairs with some of this, but I didn't make a banner for it. But during that stretch, Goff has thrown 8 touchdown passes, 1 pick, completed 66.8% of his passes for roughly 1,600 yards. I mean, if that's struggling, I think just about every NFL team will take it. And this is one of the problems I have with the national media. I really do feel like listening to a lot of them. One person says something, everybody else is like, yeah, I need to run with that point. I need to pick that up and go with it. Yeah, he struggles. Yeah, the Lions aren't the same on the road. But man, if you're winning 6 or 7 road games and your Goff or your quarterback, has got 8 TDs, 1 pick, and 66, 67% completion rate for 1,500 yards. And I guess everybody has a different definition of what struggling means. All right, let's get to the comment section. Donnie Berg, good morning to you. Greetings and salutations to you too, brother. Gary, I'm tired of pop-up injuries at Laporta. Yeah, we'll know more today about him. Being a calf, I think there's still a possibility he plays Sunday. If it would have been a hamstring, yeah, I'd say he's probably out. But I'm gonna hold out some hope. Now the good part is Mitchell was on the sidelines. He wasn't practicing, but he was out there on the sidelines going along with some other players. So it's hopeful that we get some people back. But it's part of the NFL. People are going to be hurt. Yeah, I'm with you, Don, on that one. Action, absolutely, we agree. Getting snubbed from recognition too. DC not even listed in Fox's top 10 coaches. Belichick still made the list. Yeah, I think Belichick's riding some coattails. And I will say this. I think there's a real possibility either this season or during the offseason, they're going to have to make a hard choice. Either get rid of Belichick completely or just tell him, hey, Belichick, the general manager, can be no more. I think it's a real hard thing for any sport. I've done it once where I was the head coach and general manager. And let me tell you, man, you want to talk about a recipe for divorce or not having any kind of life, that's probably it. Because in order to be good at both things, you really can't have any time off. All right, Willard. Hey, good. I'm hoping you're having a good time. What time is it in the Philippines? I don't know, but let me know. But thank you for coming in and being part of Lions Talk Live today. Hopefully, you throw some questions at us today. And as good morning from California, man. We're getting an international and nationwide audience. I like it, man. So, but what do you guys think about what I came up with as far as Goff stats? Yes, it's probably not as explosive as his stats at home, but is that really struggling? I don't know. Anyways, let's move our attentions though over to the Bucks versus Detroit. What can we expect out of this? So I started analyzing some game tape and going through some things, and what can we expect out of the Bucks defense? So I think probably most we talked about it a little bit yesterday. The Bucks are going to blitz us. They're going to blitz us a ton. I think that's where they feel like they have to go in order to have an opportunity to slow down the offense. So what we're going to want to see, and we talked about some of the offensive line blocking assignments and what we're anticipating, and I won't go through all of it like I did yesterday, but right off the bat, we want to see when Detroit's on offense, we want to see what the center and then the two guards do off the bat. It's my anticipation your center is going to block forward and try to push out, while the two guards are going to push outward to the sidelines towards the tackles. Probably going to see that a whole lot because that leaves clear gap responsibilities when somebody's blitzing. Now, what do I mean by that? You're not going to have any of your linemen try to pick with the blitzers. That's just going to cause too much movement. And to be fair to the offensive line, especially if it's a cornerback, which I'm anticipating we'll get a lot of corner blitzes out of Tampa, especially from the weak side or quarterbacks back. You'll probably also see a lot of linebacker delayed blitzes, etc. But on top of those three guys in the middle, you want to see the tackles more often than not. You want to see them block up and in. Basically force those blitzers or the people on the front line that they're responsible for to go at the people that the interior line's pushing out, basically slam them into each other. That's going to leave clear indication for the tight ends, whichever side they're on, or if there's one or two of them, and the backs in the backfield, who to pick up the blitzers. Those guys are typically more mobile, and it's an easier assignment for them to pick up blitzers, especially the backs. So pay attention to that early and often. I think the Bucks are going to play a lot of single high safety. From what I can see, they're going to leave a rover in the center, which means the sidelines up the field. You beat your person, you're going to have an opportunity for some big plays, especially if you got some wheels like Jameson Williams. So that's something I think Detroit could go to early and often with either J-Mo, Reynolds. I think is going to operate probably a little bit more over the field and then out to the sidelines, but definitely Cleve Raymond. So we've got some weapons to handle stuff like this. It'll be interesting to see what Ben Johnson likes to do. Now, conversely, not to go on too long about the Bucks defense, but the offense, can they give Detroit problems? And I'm going to say this. I think Detroit's going to have a tougher matchup here. You do have a mobile quarterback, someone who likes to get out and scramble. And, Mike Evans, he didn't practice again yesterday. I'm guessing he will. He's going to mostly be sideline dominant and work the center of the field as long as the sideline. I believe they're going to have more possession receivers working the center of the field, the tight ends, etc. All right, I see the comment section's blowing up, so let's get back over there. Sorry, it took a minute to ramble on there. All right, let's see. Let's get back up. All right, Willard, you say thank you for that. 7 p.m. over in the Philippines. All right, how long have you been there? Are you just over there visiting, or do you live there? I guess I'd ask. Been a Lions fan for 30 years. Same here. I started in, I want to say the first time I went to the Silver Dome is when I became a Lions fan. It's going to be right around 1978, 79, somewhere around there. It's been a while, so I'm with you. Let's see. Don Burr, Denver, Washington, etc. Come to Daddy. Brad Holmes is about to start making rings. Start ringing. Yeah, and I think you're 100% right. I think I'm not going to say Brad Holmes. I want to reiterate, when I do a video or say something about Brad Holmes making calls, doesn't mean he's going to make a trade. Now, I inevitably know once I put that out there, somebody's getting in the comment section and go, hey, you said that they were going to make a trade. No, I don't say they're going to make a trade. I'm saying they're inquiring. That's completely different. At any rate, but Don, I do think to your point, it's a strong possibility at this point. I think we all can agree that the Lions are going to have an opportunity to win this NFC North, which means you're hosting a playoff game. So the question I guess I'd be asking is either the head coach or the general manager is it going to be enough to just make it to the playoffs, or do we want to make it, win a game, and make a legit push for the Super Bowl? Because if I'm playing it out in my mind, you're probably going to face Seattle again at home, Dallas Cowboys. I'm trying to think of some other options. Maybe the Rams. I mean, Stafford could come home. So, what to your point, Don? What can we do between now and basically 2 weeks left before the trade deadline? What can we do to shore some things up to really put us in a real good position to try to succeed and make a push? I guess only Brad Holmes can answer that. So pay attention. I think we all will be. Foggy One, good morning to you too. Hopefully you're having a good one. Mr. Nico, good morning, Coach. The media will always think we're the same old Lions, but we're the villains now. Yeah, and I'm kind of okay with that kind of mentality. MCDC will ride on a lion as master of puppets. Yeah, I get the reference there with Metallica. Yeah, out of the tunnel with his villains. And, there's nothing wrong with that, man. I think it's good to have an identity as a team and a coach, and maybe really do have the idea that it's us against the world, Detroit versus everybody, because to a certain extent, he's right. I get we're the media darlings to a certain extent right now, but it also means you come in with a chip on the shoulder like a lot of these players have. Whether you're talking St. Brown, Goff, or whoever, people that were overlooked or cast away, man, I'm okay with that. All right, Don Burr. All right, let's see. Lions King, the Lions King. Okay, I'll go with that. All right, Max, what do you got? Broderick Martin should make his first appearance this season. He's got to be getting closer to it, I would think. Assuming the coaches are doing a good job of developing this kid, you would think he's closer to being in than out. But again, we've talked about on the channel, you guys and me. I think really the problem is it's just the guys in front of him are playing that good, that they're keeping him at bay. Nobody wants to lose their PT. Nobody wants to lose their position on the team, and nobody wants to risk the option or maybe the potential of not getting re-signed. That also plays a factor. Jay Moton, yeah, and I think that this would be an ideal game to unleash him, just because again you got a blitzing team. I'm really hoping Gibbs can play, but if not, somebody else will. But Gibbs, man, St. Brown, Laporta if he can go, Jameson Williams, Reynolds. I mean, you get it. There's a lot of guys who can beat one-on-one coverage, and if they do, if you're going to send 5 or 6, you're really leaving everybody on the island. And all it takes is one broken tackle or missed tackle, and somebody's making a house call. You do that once or twice, you're going to put the Bucs in a real bad position. Daz, Lions running back Bam Knight suffered a season-ending shoulder injury. Yeah, I mean, if you go back to watching the training staff help him off the field, the way they have to hold the elbow and the arm, yeah, he was in bad shape there. So next person up, man. JD next. JMO, I agree. All right. Lions King, Detroit versus Tampa Bay. Lions win big. They have some. I think it could be a blowout. There's without question. Things go Lions way, they could make a real statement win here, I guess you could say. But I'm just saying I'm not going to give my score prediction to the end of the video. But I'm going to say I'm anticipating a 10-point game. I get 10 points in the NFL is a lot, but you'll have to stay tuned to the end to find out who I'm predicting will win. All right, Don Burr. I don't think we have Gibbs. Does Craig Reynolds being number 2 worries you? He's slower than Montgomery. No change of pace back Sunday. We'll see. The encouraging thing is, Don, that Gibbs was on the sideline with some training staff working through things. He still has today and tomorrow, and I guess really, to noon Sunday for the staff to make a final call. I forget what the later games, do they have an extra hour or two? But I mean, not that I think an hour or two will make a difference, but we'll see what shakes out. There could be a couple guys out. Actually, has Brad made any more as far as acquisition calls? Not that I'm aware of. The ones I heard about were, I think you guys all know, Sunday and Monday, he made some calls. Now, whether or not anybody's called him back and he's had further discussions, that, to be fair, I don't know at this point. All right, Willard, what do we got? Been living here 4 years. After I retired from the military, I moved here. Watch all the Lions games on Dazan. All right. I'm assuming that's some sort of online streaming service, but if not, I can tell you there are a few websites you can go to watch Lions games or really any sporting event you want. Anywho, but moving on. All right. Lions King, what happens in Vegas won't stay in Vegas in 2024. I'm expecting the Lions to make a good, strong push for that Super Bowl in 2024. If you want, you can check out some of the Lions Talk Live archive videos about that. All right, Fletch Lives, good morning, everyone. It will be a great weekend. I agree. And, really, let's all, set our timers for 4 o'clock today when the newest injury reports come out from both teams. That's going to be real telling. I get Mike Evans hasn't practiced all week. If he doesn't go for Tampa, I think Tampa's at least offensively going to struggle a little bit, because he's the one real matchup problem I think they have for us. It's not that they don't have other weapons. It's not that other guys aren't, NFL players and solid, but he's a matchup problem. I also think if we look at that injury report, it's going to be a real tell what the Bucs think of this game. I get if you're an athlete, you're a coach, you want to win every game. But we've also talked about this week, do the Bucs come into this game sort of like we did last week against Carolina and say, win or lose, it's not as important as next week's game for them. And if they've got some guys that are iffy, hey, if it was a playoff game, what a big game they'd be playing. But do we want to rest them for next week and the following week, which are much more impactful on their season? They're not in a strong division. I think everybody gets that. You win that division, you're Tampa Bay, you're in the playoffs. And are they gambling more on that aspect versus trying to win this game? Risk Mike Evans or a couple other guys further damaging those injuries, and now next week they're in worse shape. So that'll be interesting to see. And also with the Lions, we want to see if there's anything new on there, updates. Man, if Laporta can play Sunday, that would be huge for us. And I guess we'll wait and see what happens. All right, one funky. Don has long as D money stays healthy. I'm not worried about the running back too. Okay. No, as long as D stays healthy. Yeah. I mean, dude's a monster out there. And I don't think anybody in free agency saw this coming. Otherwise, other teams would jump on him. But one funky, I agree with you. He's going to be out there the Lions share of the time. It would just be interesting if Gibbs can't go what they do for the number 2. All right, Willard, what do you got? Just a quick statement. The Lions are in great shape with all the depth we have. But I'll tell you, J-Mo has to go. His lackadaisical attitude is of a spoiled kid. Goff doesn't trust him and never will. Let's hope he does change some narratives here. I get he hasn't had a great start to his career. I mean, we all get that. But some of that's beyond his control with the knee injury that he suffered in college, the national championship game. It is what it is. They've seen something in him. Obviously, the physical traits, the speed and everything. He comes out and starts establishing himself. The one good thing I will say about him is it wasn't just on the 1 or 2 running plays where he got out there and he really went after people run blocking. It was, if you go back and watch the tapes, it's basically every time there's a run. That was kind of his norm. So now if we can just get him going as far as catching and being an offensive threat and as a receiver, I think a lot of Lions fans are going to open up to him quickly. Of course, success does that. All right, Fletch, what do you got? It is a luxury to rely on a running back league money. Yeah, and hey, we can all say that we loved Jamal Williams. I'm pretty sure all Lions fans did, but he's not here anymore. Whatever the situation was, he wanted a little bit more than what the team's willing to give. I don't know. I'm going to leave that for other people to debate. But what we can say is this is who we have, and that dude's kicking some butt. Matrix, I wouldn't mind the Lions going after Brian Burns. I'm guessing the Eagles are trying to acquire him. I agree. It's at this point, from here until the trade deadline, it's going to be an arms race. Anybody who thinks they have a real shot at winning the NFC and getting the Super Bowl, they're going to be doing what they can to kind of push themselves into the Super Bowl. You don't get opportunities for this a lot, and I get it seems like Brad Holmes and the Lions' mantra is we're going to build to the draft, selective free agencies, go from there. faster than anything. I mean, if you've ever played Madden, I use this example. Go back 3 years ago, maybe even four, and see the ratings on some players that are still around now. See how much they change. And so the Detroit Lions right now have a window of opportunity, in my opinion, doesn't have to be yours, this year, next year, maybe the year after that, where you can at least say, hey, we should be around for a while. But after next year, a lot of rookies or people that they've drafted are going to start getting paid. And that does change the scope of things. Other players will leave. Somebody's going to get injured, whatever it may be. What we can say is they win the NFC North this year. They've got an opportunity. How much does Brad Holmes and that front office believe in that opportunity? Windows of time close fast in pro sports, especially the NFL. I would say you got an opportunity to get to that Super Bowl, and especially for a franchise that's never been there, it'd be hard for me not to be pushing some chips towards the table there to go after it. All right. By the way, the Lions need to give J-Mo time before doing something they will regret. Yeah, I would say this is more or less his rookie year to me. And, I get he got a couple snaps or whatever opportunities last year, but he's coming back from an injury, trying to get the, confidence back in the knee, trying to digest the playbook, the differences from college to the NFL. I mean, I'd say this. I'd wait to the end of the season and see how he's progressed. As long as it's steady progression, I'm probably okay with it. Willard, stop by, bro. Stop, please. All right. Go from there. All right. Good morning. Good morning to you, Phil. Hopefully you're having a good one. JP's in the house. Monty's my line. He's a bulldozer. Yeah, he's impressive. They knew what they were getting there, and man, they hit the cover off the ball. They went Roy Hobbs with that thing. Hopefully you guys get the Roy Hobbs reference. All right, Don J-Mo's blocking his butt off, but he's lacking. It's lacking. It is what it is, man. I mean, we're all gonna be jumping up and down the day this kid breaks out some stuff for catches and games. And I really do think, especially against a defense, like I was saying at the start of the show, against a defense that likes to blitz so much as Tampa, this is a real good opportunity for Jameson Williams, among other players, Khalif Raymond, St. Brown, whoever. They could all, Josh Reynolds, they could all have an opportunity to go off here. It will be interesting because of, Jameson Williams' speed. When they blitz, are they jamming him at the line? And if he can beat that jam, man, that's going to be golden for Goff and the offense. You're going to force some teams out of it. I would also expect with him out there and other players, I would expect some trickeration out of Ben Johnson. I think we all probably know that comes about every game, but I think they're going to try to do something pretty early to try to pull some of that pressure off, because Tampa, like I said, you get burned a few times and you get burned badly, man, it just gets harder and harder to keep coming after someone. All right, we'll see what happens. Fletch lives. Jamal was great, but D Money is just gives a bit more, and he does. And it's nothing against Jamal. Jamal was, he's obviously wore his emotions on his jersey. He let everybody know about Detroit and what he thought. D Money is a little bit, I think, more internal. He's not as expressive, but seeing what he did last week with Craig Reynolds, telling him to stay in, seeing how hard he runs. When we won at Green Bay and him on Amazon Prime talking afterwards, you could tell he's happy to be here. You could tell he's thrilled to be a Lion. And, when's the last time you saw free agents come in and act like that about being a Detroit Lion? Things are changing, my friends. Things are changing. We can still draft. Yep. Well, say what you want about Brad Holmes. His drafts have been pretty dang good. I think the only question you, me, or anybody can really have on the guy is in free agency or the draft. He's been drafting some guys that are injured, and I guess you could say it's fair to say it's mixed reviews on who you've drafted or signed that are injured. Those aren't panning out as high as some of the other ones. We'd rather deal with secondary help than front seven. Yeah, we'll see where he goes with it. Phil, nobody's made it official yet, one way or the other, about Laporta. What we do know is yesterday he was not there because of calf injury. The day before that, he was. So when we get today's report, like I think around 4 o'clock today, that'll be real telling. If he's out on the field, even if it's in limited practice, I'd say he's probably playing Sunday. Limited practice, hey, there was an injury. It's not that horrible, but they're just putting him, being cautious today, Saturday. with him just to not aggravate it, let it have another 2 days or so of rest. So we'll see. But if he's not going today, I'd say he's probably out Sunday. But we'll see. Lion King, my namesake breakout party. All right, go. Yeah, 4 p.m. Flex. Correct. Yeah, I think. Yeah, right around 4 o'clock. Jay Mommy, good morning to you. Who do you think will shadow Mayfield? That'll be a good question. It depend on, I guess, Aaron Glenn's approach. So we know the Lions like to stack the line. It's part of why they're such a great run defense. So what that means is, 4 people at the line. You're gonna have your backers split out wide, one over the middle. And since you've got one back over the middle, you're dropping one of the safeties down to back up that middle linebacker. So in essence, you've got 7, 8 people at the line of scrimmage. And no, they're not all coming to do a house call on the quarterback, but that's going to cause. We've talked about it before. It's going to cause the offensive line to have to communicate well. If somebody doesn't pick up somebody on a blitz, they're going to have a straight path to quarterback. The trick is to make sure it's confusing for the quarterback, which you do have a veteran quarterback, not like the last few weeks where you've had less experienced quarterbacks. So they should be able to, call out the line adjustments a little bit better. So it's going to be a cat and mouse game. If Brian Branch is in the game, I would say they're probably going to have him do it, but I'm not sold on the fact he's going to play Sunday. I'm hoping he'll play Sunday, but since he hasn't practiced yet this week, I mean, if he doesn't practice today, he ain't going out on that field, would be my guess, Sunday. So who are they going to put on him? Boy, I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'd be speculating at best. If I had to say right now, probably Tracy Walker, because Tracy, while he's great at playing the run, he's not as great at playing the pass. And I think it would be probably more his style to be up there at the line and then be able to pursue a mobile quarterback. So good question there, Jay Mommy. All right, Don, what do you got? My thing is I want a consistent team with franchise those teams knowing for a winning culture. Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Green Bay, Baltimore. I get it, man. And there's nothing wrong with that approach. I'm just saying, hey, I'd love to win for the next, 10, 20 years. But I also know, look at that list you just gave. All right, Kansas City's won a Super Bowl. Baltimore has, but it's been, I don't know, don't make me do the math, Don, 20 years. Green Bay, it's been close to 30 years. Pittsburgh, it's been a few years since they have. And all of them make moves at some point. So we see our window of opportunity to get into the promised land. And I'm not saying trade first, second, third round picks, but I probably would look to acquire a couple things. And I'm probably not going for the stud player. I'm probably going for the next tier down. So, since somebody brought up cornerbacks, I wouldn't go for Patrick Surtain, but I would probably go for like Fuller or some of the other ones that I could probably get for a third or fourth round pick. Hopefully that makes sense. It adds some more depth there. All right, let's see. Cloud, what do you got? I'm fearful Monty won't hold up the whole season with his current usage. It's one of the risks, but if you're a little bit older and you've got experience with running backs like from the 80s, 70s, 90s, this is not new. It's just what somebody's willing to do and put their body through. We've kind of gotten away from that in the last 10, 15, 20 years in the NFL. But I think with training staffs, if you can, even if the Lions gave, say Gibbs can't go this weekend, you give Craig Reynolds 7 to 10 snaps. Well, that means, Montgomery's probably getting 20 to 28 snaps, at least somewhere in that range. And that's not too horrible, especially since when the contact's happening with him, it's not somebody usually slamming into him. It's him slamming into somebody. So your energy or your centrifugal force is going into that player. I mean, it still hurts you, but not as bad as if somebody comes plowing into you. So food for thought. But, hey, what do you got? Good morning. Hope the Lions give Gronk the one finger salute after we beat Tampa Bay. Well, we'll pay attention to that. Good call on that. Morning, Crypto. In my opinion, if Brad doesn't make a big move before the deadline, he doesn't believe we have a Super Bowl run this year. We'll see. I mean, I guess what I'd say is he either has so much belief that, we're good the way we are, or, no matter what he does, maybe to your point, no matter what he does without just spending a ton, he's not going to be able to overcome the 49ers or maybe the Philadelphia. We'll see, but good call on that, though. Fletch lives. Laporta is my line. He will be out there, no doubt. Well, let's like I said, Fletch, let's pay attention to today's 4 p.m. injury report. It's my hope he's out there in a limited practice. And again, just Saturdays aren't anything other than just kind of film studies and walkthroughs. So good or bad, I mean, that's really Saturdays don't matter. Don Burr, I totally agree. It's too much. That's why we need to change a pace back, Gibbs, to be healthy. Yeah, and I would say, yeah, it'd be great if he could be out there. So one other thing I wanted to bring up, and getting off topic here, look at Brad Holmes' draft last year. And I know somebody, yesterday was talking about, the Lions kind of missed at taking Gibbs at 12, Campbell at 18. They really hit on Laporta and Branch, yada, yada, yada. But here's what I'll say. Does it really matter where you get drafted? Look at their draft. You got a quarterback that I think most would say has, if we don't believe in Goff, I do. I think he's going to be around. But if you don't want to keep that guy, you've got somebody in a couple years that has at least the opportunity to replace him. You got a running back. You got a tight end. You got a receiver. You got an offensive line, defensive line, linebacker, cornerback, safety. In last year's draft, regardless of where people were taken, you addressed every aspect of this team outside of special teams. And, special teams, kicker and punter, I don't think you're worried about. That's a heck of a thing for a draft to do. And with each of those players taken, I don't think there's any player out there that anybody, you guys let me know in your thoughts, but is there anybody that we're like, yeah, that person ain't going to be around in a year or two? I think there's at least potential with each player drafted that they'll be here 1, 2, 3 years. And that's a heck of a thing from an NFL draft. But again, let me know what you guys are thinking. All right, Phil, orange cream uniforms for the Bucks make a difference? Probably not, but what do I know? I'm hoping the power of the uniform isn't that much, but maybe. Arction, what do we got? One thing people forget is that we usually get a lot of injuries in the beginning of the season, but by November and December, we are pretty much done with injuries. So we hit the postseason in good shape. Yeah, that's probably a good point. And part of that, I heard Lomas Brown talk to somebody about it, we'll say a week or two ago. And he said, back in his day, which I get is 30 years ago or so, you did all the banging in the preseason, you played the 4 games, yada, yada, yada. So a lot of those injuries that you're pointing out happened at that time. So players, when they went in the regular season, your body's adjusted to the hits, the pounding and stuff like that. Where nowadays, I think you're seeing on the NFL, especially the Lions the last few years, they seem to occur a lot of those injuries early in the year. And to your point, later in the year, they seem to, their bodies have adjusted and adapted to it. And they seem to be a little bit healthier. So we'll see what happens. But I would say this to you, Arshan, real quick in regard to that. I do think the bye week comes at almost a perfect time for us this year. All right, Phil, Lions play better outside on natural turf away. You look at, I talked at the start of the show, and I get maybe some of you guys weren't in it, but the Lions have won. I'll pull up the banner for you. Boy, where is it? The Lions have won 6 or 7 road games. And don't worry about the national media part, but think about where most of those road games were. You had the Jets and the Giants. You had Chicago. So outdoor environments, colder environments. Obviously, it's going to be warmer here, but natural grass. I think the way we're constructed is very ideal for road games, and I'm anticipating we're going to do pretty well. I also threw this, since we're on the topic, Goff during that stretch, 8 touchdowns, 1 pick, roughly 66, 67% completion percentage for 1,600 yards. But yet the national media says he struggles on the road. Maybe we just run more on the road. There's a thought for you. All right, let's see. Where are we at? Sorry. Some of them moved back on me as far as the comments, so trying to remember where I was. All right, Don Burr, I think you're up next, Arshan. In a collision sport like football, injuries are never done. Yeah, that's always going to be true. Phil, Bucks +7 in turnovers. We must protect the ball. Yeah, and fastest way to lose a game, as you guys probably all know, is give the ball away a lot. Thinking back to the Seattle game. 3 turnovers, and maybe we can just say 2 because I get the St. Brown 1 second left at the clock, right before halftime. It's a Hail Mary, but still, he shouldn't have fumbled it. But those 2 turnovers definitely altered the game. We take care of the ball, we take out, so their offense, it's not great by any means. It struggles to a certain degree, especially if Evans is out. So if you don't give them extra opportunities, I think they're going to struggle to score with us. Now, to me, the game's going to come down to our offense versus their defense. If our offense is scoring enough to force them, their offense, to really have to try to pick up the pace, you're going to probably see Baker Mayfield, who's been known to gamble over the years, known to force things into some situations where I think we're going to have some opportunities to jump on some passes. If our offense is scoring, they're in trouble. If their defense is keeping them around, then the Bucs do have a chance to win this. So I guess we'll all have to stay tuned to Sunday to see what happens. Excuse me. Jay Mommy, the Lions are a lot better with Montgomery. He was the second in the league last year in broken tackles. Williams turned down the Lions offer. He did, and I don't know all the details about it. I'm going off memory at this point. I want to say he basically wanted a deal that was about double what he got in New Orleans. Lions offer was actually higher than what they offered Montgomery. He turned it down, and now ultimately got less money, from what I understand, from the Saints. So you can blame Jamal Williams for the outcome. I mean, you could probably blame his agent probably more than anybody. So, anywho, moving on. Action, obviously, we average fewer than almost all teams in went. All right, I'm not sure what you mean there, but anyways, yeah, okay. So, Drux, do you think Stephen Gilmore will ever get a shot? I do, and I do think it'll just be limited. He'll be limited until he gets out there and gets enough reps to prove himself to be ready to go. We all saw some good things out of him in the preseason, but preseason he's also out there facing other teams' third or fourth stringers, so that's a big jump from that to first and second stringers. For field turf hurting players, there's been talk about all field turfs hurting players. So what I would say is, I mean, I know they upgraded the field before this season, to try to make it more player or injury friendly, to help protect players. But at the same time, even on grass fields, you're gonna have guys blow out ACLs or whatever else. So it's football, it's high contact. I don't think you can remove injuries from it. But the Lions have invested, the Ford family, a lot of money into this new field service, with the idea of protecting players. All right, so we'll see what shakes out, though. Once upon a time, they thought AstroTurf would be the answer for everything. All right, one funky. I laugh every time I hear people crying about Gibbs and or Campbell. Lions are winning and not burning out 2 guys that have never played a 17-game season. If we start losing and then start crying. Should J-Mo return kicks? I probably wouldn't put him out there. It's just me. I kind of like Khalil Freeman and other options there. Jameson Williams, man, at this point, I'm just trying to get him through the rest of the season injury-free and get his confidence up, his skill sets up. If you do, then you probably got something for the foreseeable future. All right. Good morning, Lions fans. I'm heading to Tampa now. This is a huge game. Got to keep the momentum going. I would agree. A win here, man. And let me tell you, Lions fans, national media, everybody will be jumping up and down and on that bandwagon. Tie your shoes, put your track shoes on, because a win here, man, it's going to be limited space on the bandwagon. You're going to see a lot of people come out of nowhere to jump on in. All right, let's see what we got. Have we heard any player complaints about the field? Not that I can think of. I think most of the players that I heard from the preseason talking about the new field surface were very much in favor of it. The problem becomes with any kind of artificial surface is just how much padding you put underneath. So use some real estate for you here. You want, when you recarpet a house, you want great pad underneath, and don't worry so much about the carpet on top. if you're spending all the money on the carpet on top and poor padding underneath, you're going to feel it real quick. And the same is true with playing fields or artificial surfaces. It's the top layer that isn't really the problem. So use the Pontiac Silverdome as an example. Top layer was very fine, player friendly. The problem was 4 inches underneath was concrete. So you had very limited padding. Players getting driven into that. I mean, there's basically only 4 or 5 inches between them and concrete. That's that surface after a couple of games is going to get compressed down from all the running. So instead of having 4 to 6 inches or whatever, it's going to get closer to 4 to 3 inches, which means you start hitting that concrete pretty hard. The newer surface, from my understanding at Ford Field, I mean, they spent a lot of money on it. The idea was they were going to give closer to, once compacted, 10 to 8 inches. At that point, I mean, you would like to think that field, if it holds up well, and I've never tested it or anything, so don't ask me, but it should provide a lot more flexibility for players who are now hitting the ground. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys, but it's the same with any playing surface. The longer they have it, it's going to wear down, it's going to break down, and yes, you'll start seeing more injuries from it. So if I'm the NFL, which they're never going to do this, I'd force a mandate that playing surfaces can't last more than, say, 2 seasons, 3 at the most, just for player safeties. The problem is the amount of money you're talking about spending. Owners, they like to keep that money. Do you like the black uniforms with the new helmet? I'm indifferent. I mean, they can wear whatever they want as long as they're winning. If you ask me, I'm just not much into it. So, I mean, I've seen some of the Lions uniforms I like better than others. But at the end of the day, man, I become oblivious to it just because I'm watching the plays and the end results. Hopefully that helps. I will say this: my favorite ones are the 1920s throwback uniforms, the 2 colors, just the blue and the silver. I thought the complaints about the field turf is that when you plant, you can't release like you could on real grass. It's less forgiving, if you will, but that's interesting what you say about the padding. Yeah, and well, to your point, you're 100% right. When you plant, it's got to be firm enough where you can turn. The problem becomes if you make it too firm, you run into the same problem with the padding underneath. It isn't effective. So you got to come up with something that's firm enough where you can make your cuts in and out without a problem, but soft enough when you hit it, you're not hitting concrete. Hopefully that makes sense. So to me, they have the technology to be able to roll in and out grass fields. Some stadiums already do it, especially if you pay attention to soccer leagues overseas. They literally take the entire field out. It's grass. They let it grow. Game days, they bring it in. Why we don't do that here in the United States? I'd say we probably all know that answer. It comes down to money. Unfortunately, the Lions have to move Hutchinson around. Jay Mommy says the Lions have to move Hutchinson around the line. I believe that they have a guard who isn't very good. Yeah, they do have some injuries on their offensive line, Jay Mommy. And I'm going to go out on a limb and guess we're going to see Hutchinson, among other players, continue to move around like we have for the last month. They're not going to keep him stagnant at one spot. They did that kind of the first 2 weeks. I think they regretted doing so. All right, what do we got? Football question. Do you think there are going to be more sets for JMO this week? Amara is coming back, I believe. I do think they'll probably do some more routes specifically for him. But, again, last week he had, just a couple practices to get him ready for last week's game. Now you've had, 6 to 8 practices to get him ready. You're able to get a little bit more playbook out of him, plus a little bit more familiarity. We'll see what happens. Lions practice on grass, play on turf. Yeah, they do. And they do what they can to minimize things. But again, if it was me, but I'm not the owner, I would be having him play on a grass surface that's, rolled in and out. I mean, heck, there are some teams overseas that for fields, and again, this is soccer, not my forte, but I'm aware of them, where basically they just bring in the lights and everything. And if they can't roll the entire field out of the stadium, they just grow the field inside the stadium. I mean, but you have to understand, if you guys have never seen a soccer match overseas, that stuff is, you think NFL fans get crazy. There are some stadiums where if you're for, we'll just say the Lions, you're on this end. If you're for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you're on this end. Everything in the middle of the field is vacant. There are no fans there. You're going to ask, why are there no fans there? Because if you're in the middle of the row, the 50-yard line seats, team players, fans from other teams can still hit you with bottles or whatever else. So they're only sitting in the end zones, and that's no joke. All right, J-Mom, we totally agree. Are there any cold weather cities that do that with grass? There, for Europe, yes, there are. For the United States, no, there isn't. And again, the only reason that I can think of why it's not done here is just cost. It's not cheap, but it also shows you how overseas markets view their soccer players. I mean, they're going to do everything, especially if you're an elite one, to protect you. I mean, it is another world over there. Over here, they're treated a little bit more, in my opinion, like gladiators. I mean, we want to keep you healthy as best we can, but there's a certain return on investment. Apparently, they're not willing to cross at this point. All right, Mike P. Concerned about going into this game with only 2 healthy backs this game. I'm guessing they're going to pull somebody up. You're going to probably have to have 3 just because if one goes down, man, you're putting somebody in a real bad spot then. But we'll see what happens. Funky one, I'm pretty sure that Arizona uses real grass that they roll in and out. They might. And if there could be an NFL team or two that does it, and I cover the Lions, so I don't pay as much attention to every other team's fields, but you could be right on that. And I hope more NFL teams go to that. Phil, what do you got? Totally agree. Roll the turf in for games. Yeah. And if you ever get a chance, you guys get bored this weekend or maybe on the bye week, go ahead and, check out some videos on teams overseas that do that. And you'll hear the players are all for it. It's also quite a process too. But anyways, did the Wings win last night? Couldn't tell you. I don't watch hockey, man. Unfortunately, I haven't watched the Wings since the 90s. Joe Williams, it will be interesting to see how our linebacker core does it against Baker scrambling. Yeah, and what we do to allow him. And I won't go into everything that I'm anticipating the Lions will do up front as far as stunts and et cetera and gap fires. But I'm going to guess they're pretty aware of that's where a lot of the Bucs offense, at least on the ground, is going to come. The running game hasn't been successful outside of Baker Mayfield. He has put up some numbers scrambling, and it's just a lot of little timely runs. So it's my hope, and I think I talked about it yesterday a little bit, but you're going to see the interior tackles or whoever's lined up inside do rushes towards the center to clog up those gaps, and you're going to see our ends or linebackers, whoever's outside wide, go try to also fire interiorly. So the only way you want Mayfield to go is out wide and longer. That allows whoever your center responsibility or your spy, whatever you guys want to call it, more opportunity to move and keep them contained. So watch the tackles. If they're firing in towards the center, now watch the exterior line. If they're also firing in and trying to basically spin and pin, get inside, rush, that means Mayfield only has the avenue of going out wide and such. But if nobody's going to pick him up, then he's got a lot of room to roam. So I'm anticipating if you see those 4 guys doing that, the Lions have told somebody to basically spy and contain. So anyways, pay attention to that, I guess. All right, a couple more, then it's 50 minutes in. It's definitely Mountain Dew time for me. All right, let's see. Will the Lions use a fullback when Gibbs cues back from injury? That's a good question. I guess if Laporta is available and Mitchell plays, you're probably using one of the tight ends as the fullback like they've done the last few weeks. I guess you could use a linebacker. It's just obviously we're a little limited at fullbacks at this spot. All right, a couple more. Big stadium guy. They grow the grass outdoors. Doing that up north, you'd have to build a separate greenhouse and try to do it. Yeah. And, think about our, climate here. Most of Europe has a fairly similar climate to Michigan. I mean, there's going to be, differences here and there, but they're doing it over there. They've done it over there for a long time. I'm not privy to all the technologies or stuff they use to do it, but if it can be done there, I don't see any reason why it can't be done here. All right. Are you selling any properties in Traverse City? I do show them up there. I mean, guys, I go to the Upper Peninsula, so Detour Village, Drummond Island. I mean, all those spots. I really do travel throughout the state of Michigan. So if you are looking for someone, feel free to give me a call, whether it's buying or selling a property. All right. So you guys ready for the final score prediction? All right. All right. I'm going to take Lions 28, Bucks 20. So it could be Bucks 18, but we'll see. I think the Lions are going to win by roughly 10 points. We'll see what happens. But I will say this: I wouldn't toy around with the Bucks. I think if you give them, the longer you keep them in the game, the more that defense of theirs has an opportunity to change the game. If the Lions can get out on them early, their offense is fairly limited, especially if Evans can't go. And if you don't give them turnovers, their offense, I think, will struggle against us. Anything can happen, though. Somebody gets hot, especially a quarterback at the right time, you can change a game. But that's my score prediction. All right. The Mountain Dew is calling me. Hope you all have a good one. If you haven't yet subscribed, you get the deal. Go ahead and hit the subscription button, hit the like button, whatever. Tell your mama, tell your friends, tell your mama's friends. Everybody, bring them on in. Hopefully, we can get Lions Talk Live by kickoff up to 2,600 subscribers. Enjoy the rest of your day. If any breaking news comes out, if I hear something, I'll get it to you guys. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning on the next Lions Talk Live. See you all.